Everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to Spark World. Welcome to Sparkland. Welcome to the Spark. Yeah, the Spark. You know what I mean? How are you guys doing today? I hope you're all doing very well. And my goal for you is that you're better off when we're done. You know what I mean? I don't like to waste your time or my time doing anything. I like to make a difference. And the first thing I'm going to say to you guys, I'm going to lead with a Spark quote, which I have many quotes that I have, is once you make up your mind, you've lost it. Okay? All right. What does that mean? Well, it means that once you decide something, right? Once you decide something is your reality, once you accept it as your reality, well then, that's your reality, right? Right. So you're saying there's nothing more, right? There's nothing more. That's all there is because you made up your mind. You decided to make a decision about the way things are. Right? You made up your mind. So you lost your mind. Yeah. It's gone. Poof. Right? Right. Because you think that's all there is. Right? Right. Right. So we're in an infinite universe with an infinite possibility, and you are going to choose to make up your mind. Wow, that's rich. That's a real smart idea. Because what happens when you make up your mind? What did I just say? You lost it, right? Yeah, you did. You lost your mind. You don't have it anymore. No. You're in an alternate reality and you're stuck there. Because that's what you chose. That's what you chose for yourself. That's what you chose to live in. You chose to live in that reality, right? Because you did what? You made up your mind, didn't you? Sure. Sure you did. Oh, that's not a good idea. Sparks, words of wisdom. If you make up your mind, you lost it. Wow. What a deep concept. What a marvelous thing. I mean, when you're in school, they always want you to choose A, B, C, or D, right? Yeah, they want you to do what? Make up your mind, right? Because when you make up your mind, you did what? You lost it, right? So they got you making up your mind all the time, don't they? Yeah, they do. Yeah. Because once you make up your mind, what happens? You lost it. Yeah. So, that's all school's all about. That's why we're 98% creative geniuses, and then by the time you're 30, it's only 2% because you did what? You made up your mind at some point in time, and you lost it, didn't you? You did. You lost your mind. So now, there's only 2% of us left because we didn't make up our mind. We didn't lose it. You did. You lost it. Yeah. Yeah. So if you make up your mind about me, right? You did what? You lost it. So isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Isn't that really, really deep? I mean, it sure is, and it's a fact. It's data. Data driven. Yeah. You think I'm going to say something that's not true? Wow. No, I prefer to speak the truth at all times. All right, and what is the truth? If you make up your mind, you lost it. Yeah, you did. Yeah. Because we live in a what? Infinite universe and an infinite reality, right? Yeah, because that's the way God intended. God is infinite, isn't he? Sure is. Yeah. Sure is. Yeah. Yeah, now we can get into some serious matters. You know, I want to start with that because at this point in time, that's the most important thing for you as a person. That's the most important thing for you to learn. Right. And who's teaching you it? The spark. Yeah. Yeah, I am. So, once you make up your mind, you lost it. Yeah. Isn't that fun? It's a fun one. You can think about that for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and I will always be what? Right. I will. Yeah. So now that you learned that important lesson, because you know I'm rereading this the second book that I'm reading you folks. All right, and you know the book of Matthew. Okay, I'm gonna reread it. I'm gonna read it to you from the top, and I haven't read it all the way through yet. I'm gonna attempt to read it today. I may have to take a break or something like that. I may have to split it up. I mean, according to this, I got 52 minutes left on my phone, so I probably won't get through everything today. Well, I'm going to start by talking about what's happened, right? So, all right, let's start from the top. I repented a year ago March, right? And then after that, you know, miracles started happening to me. Things, you know, the minute I repented, my mind cleared out like I was 8 years old again. And my heart, he fixed my heart and my mind, you know, my mind at the same time. It was a miracle. It really was. It was something. It was something. But I've had several miracles happen, you know, during the course of time, during the last year and a half, whatever, something like that. Anyways, so let's start from the top. So let's start with me being born, right? Because let's talk about the significance. See, I don't have pride, so don't think that I do, because people get confused. Okay, all right. Pride is something that, well, you think that you're better than God, and I don't think that I'm better than God. I don't think that I'm better than Him. I don't. He made me, so why would I think I'm better than Him? No, I don't. I'd like to make Him laugh. I like to make everybody laugh. I like to make things interesting, sure, but that doesn't mean that I'm prideful. I'm not prideful. I enjoy helping you folks be better people and do better. Yeah, I enjoy helping humanity. I'm a humanitarian. Okay, I'm a lot of things. So let's talk about the significance of Spark, because it's important. It's important to know, because you're like, well, how do you be the Spark? I mean, the Spark is essentially what? A creator, right? Sure. And I called myself a creator since I was 13 or something. Like, whenever AOL started, that's when I named myself, okay? It kind of forced me to think about, you know, what I am, you know what I mean? And then, you know, that sort of thing. So, you know, I came up with the name then, right around there. Maybe I was 12, I don't know, whenever AOL came out. That's when I came up with a name for myself. So, I mean, it fits me perfect because I'm constantly thinking, I'm constantly doing things, I'm constantly creating, right? So, let's talk about the significance of Spark, because let's start with me being born, right? Right. All right, so I was born April 14th, okay? Now, if you convert that, you know, I don't know what it comes out to, like April 3rd, whenever he died or whatever. But what's relevant is the number, right? The number of 14. So I was born April 14th, right? At 4:30 p.m. Okay? Now Jesus died on the 14th in Jewish terms, but we don't go off Jewish terms, do we? We go off of our terms, which 14 would be what matters, right? Yes, it would. So I was born on the 14th at 4:30 p.m. on the same day, basically, Jesus died and stuff like that. So now he died physically at 3 p.m. or the 9th hour, okay? Now, I was physically born, okay, 9 pounds, 9 ounces, okay, all right. So why is that significant? Because he physically died on the 9th hour, and I was physically born 9 pounds, 9 ounces. You see what I mean? So physically has something to do with it, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah. So physically born. So that's pretty cool, right? And then it gets wilder, it gets crazier. So if you turn 9 pounds, 9 ounces upside down, you get what? 66, don't you? And there's what? 66 books in the Bible, right? Sure is. But 9 pounds, 9 ounces is very significant, and we can get into more significance of that later on. We can look at different reasons and different things. But I was born, okay, in 1982, right? Well, Psalm 82, most significant psalm in the Bible. Why? Because Jesus uses it for his divine authority, to claim his divine authority. Not only that, it's used for divine judgment. Okay. And then, so that makes 82 very interesting, doesn't it? Sure does. The most interesting time? Now think about this for a minute, right? Now, I was born at 4:30. There's a lot of religions, a lot of people believe that the soul doesn't leave for an hour and a half till an hour and a half later, after you physically die. Which makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of people that come back alive after they physically die, right? Sure. So there's always that chance that, it might come back, so the soul doesn't leave right away, does it? No, it doesn't, because some people do what? Die and come back, right? Yeah, makes sense. So let's see. So maybe I was born exactly when his soul left his body. Wouldn't that be wild? Yeah, it's a wild thing to think about, isn't it? Sure is. Why not think about it, right? Why not think about the possibilities instead of not having possibilities, right? Right. Because that's a very interesting thing, isn't it? Now, it gets more interesting, of course, because as you noticed, right, I was born, I don't have a hole in this ear. There's no hole. I can't hear out of this ear, okay? All right, so I got one ear, basically one functioning ear, which is kind of nice, because when I go to sleep, I sleep on the one side, and I don't wake up as easily, because I don't sleep. I'm a very light sleeper, so I wake up easy and stuff like that. So I always sleep on that side, and it's a better sleep. So I actually like that. Thank you, God, for that. That was a miraculous thing you did. Now, what makes it more interesting? Okay, let's just talk about how rare I am, okay? Now, everybody's special, right? Everybody's got their own thing and their own way of whatever. Everybody's unique, so to speak, right? Everybody's unique. But we're going to just talk about how unique I am, okay, for a minute, because it's important, all right? It's significant. It's important to understand the significance. This has to do with God. This has to do with glory to God, and what exactly is going on here, right? Because I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm just putting the pieces of the puzzle together, okay? So you guys are doing it with me, and we're doing it little by little to try to figure everything out, okay? Now, let's look at just how rare I am. Okay, so for instance, there's only one baby born every 10,000 babies with this, the type of deformity, but not, they can be all different kinds of looks to it too. So you could be folded over, it can be whatever, but there's, having this deformity. Now, usually, okay, with the deformity, there's other deformities, right? All right, so there's other abnormalities, okay? So it makes it instead of one, and there's about 10,000 babies born every day, okay? So now, instead of one every 10,000 babies, okay, it's one every 20,000 babies, right? So one every other day, because I don't have other abnormalities, right? All right, now, let's get into more rare, okay? So now, let's look at that for a minute. All right, so one baby born every other day. Okay, so now, let's look at weight, right? Because weight's important, because we're talking about numbers now, right? Physically born, that's important, right? So, being born 9 pounds, 9 ounces or heavier, right? Okay, guess what? Guess what? It's only 1% of babies born are 9 pounds, 9 ounces or heavier, right? So 1% of those babies, okay, is 9 pounds, 9 ounces or heavier, right? So it could be anywhere from 9 pounds all the way up to 10 pounds, whatever. And so let's break it down again. Let's say the exact number, 9 pounds, 9 ounces, is maybe 0.1% or 0.2% of the babies born, all right, of those babies, right? So let's break it down. So it basically comes out to one baby born every year, every other year, right? Because it's rare, right? It's rare to be 9 pounds, 9 ounces with this condition, right? All right, so just to tell you how rare that is. Now, let's go into how rare I really am, because then you get into the fact that I have a counter tenor voice, right? All right, so I have a counter tenor voice. All right, what does that mean exactly? Well, Michael Jackson, okay? Michael Jackson has a tenor voice. Okay, so I have the rarest singing voice in the world, okay? A male that can sing counter tenor is the rarest singing voice in the world. And I have an example of my counter tenor voice on my YouTube channel, okay? So you guys can see for yourself exactly how high I can go, which is really, really high. Now, that's important to note. And then, so that brings it to like, what, another 1 out of 10,000 babies born, or 1 out of 20,000 babies born. Actually, there's no data to say how rare it is as far as how many babies. There's no data to show, so I don't even have a number to give you. So it's so rare that we don't have data on it. It could be 1 out of 100,000 babies, it could be 1 out of 1,000,000 babies. I don't know exactly how rare, but not many of the singers have a counter tenor voice, just to let you know. Okay, so, all right. So now that we got that figured out, that's rare, right? Okay, that's fun. So maybe one baby in existence at this point, right? But then let's get into the fact that I'm alpha, right? All right, yeah. Yeah, because I have probably the loudest voice in the entire world, okay? Because I've actually been at the bar and like other people have screamed at me because they know I'm alpha, so they want to see how loud I am, right? So they'll scream, and then I'll scream, and I'll be 2 to 3 times as loud as they are, right? And then they're just blown away by it, and they're just like, wow. You know what I mean? Everybody that I've ever met is blown away by my voice if I decide to show it. I don't really show it very often. Very rare. That I, will let the cat out the bag. But, I can scare just about anybody on the planet. Let's put it that way. I'm very loud. And be very loud. So, okay. Matter of fact, I need to wear earplugs to scream because I'm afraid of blowing out my eardrum. Yeah, I only got one, so I want to make sure I keep it, right? Yeah. Just singing, my singing voice, I actually caused tinnitus, all right? And I was only singing for a little while, and I actually caused tinnitus from how loud I was singing. So, yeah, and that wasn't even as loud as I can scream. I got a loud roar. Now, the world record is a jet engine. I'm probably louder than that, sure. Anyways, so point is I'm very, very loud, okay? So we've got that, and I'm willing to do a competition with anybody, right? Right, so that's very rare, right? That's very rare. And then let's talk about the fact that I'm Omega. Because, well, I just don't care about accolades. I don't care about money like like everybody else does. I just don't. It's not something that, excites me or whatever. Like, that doesn't define me. It doesn't make me a man. You know what I mean? So, Omega, a lot of reasons why I'm Omega. So, I'd say I'm one of the biggest Omega people on the planet. Okay? Because in a lot of ways, so I'm like hot from cold. It's really strange. I haven't made money in over 10 years. I don't care. Right? Yeah, I don't care about money. But I also have, reasons for that, I have conditions, stuff like that, you know what I mean? I have anxiety and whatnot. And, I have so much energy that my condition's so rare, I'll stay up forever and die, without medicine. So that's a very rare condition to have as well. Now, let's talk about how rare I am mentally. Now, as a kid, as a baby, I started talking full sentences, right? And my mom said I was pointing at everything, asking questions, what's that, at 6 months old, okay? Now, I've seen lots and lots of babies, because my mom had a daycare, okay? Usually don't start talking at all till like 1 or 2 years old. I pick things up extremely fast. You know what I mean? So, and I also can interpret things differently than everybody else, it seems like. So, my interpretations of things, like Shakespeare and stuff like that, when I was sitting in class, I was interpreting it for the entire, I would argue with the teacher, I would argue with the, everybody there, about what things meant and what things mean and all that stuff. Because I have a different understanding for things, typically than everybody else does. All right? I have a deeper understanding for things than typically everybody else does. Just typically. Maybe there's somebody out there that will think of things a little bit more deeper than I do, but I don't know. But, again, my longest conversation is 11 hours long, and because I ran out, I didn't drink any water, so my voice went, whatever. And I was told by a father, he said, that's impossible. I said, I could have kept going. Yeah, my voice was gone, 11 hours, take a toll on you. So anyways, I'm just not your typical person. I was debating and I was saying that I didn't like the way they read and write when I was 8. And I refused to read and write and like them. And I was sent to another school because of it. And nobody else was sent to another school, just me. And then they bribed me with like chicken nuggets and stuff every day to learn because I didn't want to. I wanted to prove to them that I didn't need it and I would do better than them. Yeah. Just for a game for myself. You know what I mean? Just for fun. You know what I mean? I like to have fun. Right? I'm always entertaining myself. Wow. Very interesting. When you're a creator and you're creative mind, you have a creative mind. Yeah, you don't need TV. No, you don't. You don't. If you have God, well, things are interesting. They're always interesting. Yeah, they are. So not only that, not only do I have one ear, why is that significant? Now, in the Bible, all right, it says, he who hath an ear in the second Revelation. Doesn't it? Sure does. Doesn't say ears plural, it says ear singular. Okay? Yeah, it does. Yeah, so that's kind of a big deal, right? It's kind of a big deal, but it gets to be a bigger deal, right? Because, I got a cross on my leg, right? So I got this thing called a cross. A white. Now, it's interesting because it wasn't I got a rash on the 19th of April, 1 year before Easter, all right? Now, I started reading the Bible a couple weeks earlier, and I left off in the Bible where it talks about Abel, Cain and Abel and him getting the mark and stuff like that. So that's where I left off in the Bible. And then for me to get a mark, like a cross on my leg, bears a cross. And it says in Luke 14, the one that bears the cross and forsaketh all is, can be considered a disciple. And, okay, a disciple, okay. But no, it means more than that because I don't have what? An ear. So now we're getting into he who hath an ear. When you got the cross and you got the one ear, you can do some simple math, can't you? I can. Wow. That means something very big to everybody. Now, I know it's really hard for people to understand and grasp, but I'm going to ask that you don't make up what? Your mind about anything until I'm done talking. You know when I'll be done talking? When I'm no longer alive. You know what I mean? That's probably when you should stop listening to me. Yeah, whenever that is. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, that's my recommendation. Because I'm always lecturing, teaching, learning, coming up with new concepts, new things. Like, that's when you should stop listening. That's just my advice to you. You can do whatever you want, can't you? Right. But you might be in the dark on something, so why would you want to not learn something new, right? Because I learn stuff new every day. I'm learning stuff about myself every day. I just figured this all out about myself at 43 years old. You know what I mean? I didn't even know I was born the same day he died until this year. So, it gets interesting, doesn't it? Sure does. It just gets more and more interesting as we go. Trust me, I'm just getting started with you folks. You have no idea. Like, we're just talking about me being born. Yeah, and guess what? It snowed exactly 1 foot, all right, to celebrate on my birthday. Where I celebrated my birthday was in Shelby Township, and it says 1 foot, which is a record for like the month, I think, because April doesn't snow much. No. So, but it happens to be on my 1-year-old birthday. Come on. 1 years old, 1 foot of snow. 1 plus 1 equals what? 2, right? Can you add? I can. Yeah, sure can. It's a special day, isn't it? Sure is. It's my 1-year-old birthday. Wow. Shocker. All right. So we got that out of the way. What's next? Oh, should I go there? Should we just talk about it for a minute? Let's talk about this. So, I read a book to you folks, right? Yeah, I read a book to you folks, and it was on the 1st of May. Okay, it just happened to be. I just started. I just said, all right, I'm gonna start, and I picked the first book, which was Ephesians. Right? All right, I read Ephesians to you folks. Yeah. And guess what? That's the most important thing, right? You're not gonna go into battle naked, are you? You want to put the armor of God on first, don't you? So that you're not getting attacked by what? The other side? Yeah, so it's pretty important to do, right? Yeah, it is. So I think it's the most important book to start with. Yeah, that's my thinking, right? I'm a pretty smart guy, right? Yeah, I am. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, what do you think happened? So I didn't know about this till like a month or two later. I was kind of doing some math, kind of throwing some things around, and God, I think, kind of told me, hey, Spark, you might want to check something out. Yeah, you might want to check something out. You might want to look and see when the eruptions started. Okay? So I started researching, started looking, and guess what? The eruptions started on what? May 1st. Yeah. But I didn't stop there, did I? No, of course not. I looked up the exact time the eruption started. The major eruptions started May 1st at 11:49 a.m. Why is that important? My upload time was 11:53, right? All right. And it uploads like right after I get done reading, right? Okay. So that means to you that I was reading my first book to humanity, which is a big deal, right? The guy that bears the cross reads the first book to humanity, okay, because I'd already read it to myself. I needed it for myself, and it helped me with a lot of things. It helped me with getting rid of demons. I was under demon attack because of a deliverance prayer I watched, and then all of a sudden I had all these issues, and it fixed all those issues. And it did. So I needed to do that, so I did it, and then I read it to you folks. Okay, that's the first time I read it to you folks. Yeah. So I was reading the book to you for the first time in history at 11:49 a.m. when the first major eruption happened with all the chaos that's going on and stuff like that. Do you think that might be an important thing to know? You You think you might be able 1 plus 1 equals 2? You think you can do some more math? Yeah, I sure can. Yeah, it's a really big deal. Really big deal. Yeah. 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 It's wild, isn't it? Isn't that wild? It sure is. It sure is. So, like, kind of freaked me out, right? Right. But it proves what? It proves what? Well, in a way, it proves divine authority, right? Sure it does. All right, so what else proves divine authority? What? I asked God, you know what I mean? Do I have it? And stuff like that. And you know what I mean? And so many words told me through weather and stuff like that. You know, I found out. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about posting my confirmation, which was like more like May 6th when I got confirmation of that. But he had already started the eruptions. Like he already, that wasn't my idea. You know what I mean? That was his idea. I don't have control. God Almighty is always in control. You know what I mean? I'm just a vessel, right? Right. So you have to realize that God is God. He's everything. He's everything that is and will be. He sure is. He sure is. But do you see the significance of what's going on here? Do you see the significance of who I am? Yeah. Yeah, you're starting to. Now I'm willing to do a competition, like an Alpha and Omega competition with the entire planet to prove out of 8 billion people that I'm Alpha and Omega. I don't have a problem with that. I can prove it. Sure I can. Sure I can. So, see, we're not even getting to my reading today, Matthew. Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But I just kind of want to give you guys some background, some things, of what happened. I mean, there's other things that happened. Oh, yeah, let's talk about more miracles. So, 2 nights ago, so I hadn't read anything, right? Well, I read some in Matthew. I've had some readings since, the May 1st. I've had some readings up to chapter 13. And then I took it upon myself the other night to read from, 13 to 18. All right, in 2 nights ago. Okay. Now, I had started a drop competition about 7 days prior, so I was taking pictures, and I can post the videos and stuff like that of the drop. And I've already posted storm data on the drought competition that I was having, the drought data that I was doing, and the minute I started reading Matthew. All right, and I started, not the same minute, but shortly after, it started raining. And then I heard thunder. And I was reading to somebody, so there was somebody that, witnessed me reading. And I wasn't recording at the time, which I should have been, okay? Because things happen when I read. Sure, like, or for instance, when I first said the Our Father prayer, you know what I mean? I said it twice, and I haven't said it in a long time, right? The first time I said it, I said the Our Father prayer, I said it twice, and then the lights flickered on and off twice, right at 4:44 p.m. And then the next time my son called me was at 4:44 p.m. So, I mean, we have strange things happen while I'm reading. So I hadn't read in a long time. We've been in a drought. And I was keeping record of the drought. I'm like, one of the reasons why I think we were in a drought is because it was a divine judgment. Because 1, I wasn't reading. 2, the priests are still ignoring me after I told them about the eruptions. So it really hasn't rained since I told them about the eruptions. It really hadn't rained. So that's why I think, that's my theory of why we were in a drought. Okay. And then I ended the drought by reading the Bible. You know what I mean? So things happen when I read, you know what I mean? Things happen around the world. Things happen here. Things, might happen to me physically. When I say prayers, we can look at the difference in my blood pressure to see my blood pressure going down. So things are happening no matter what, miracle-wise, while I'm praying or reading or whatever. Something's happening physically to me, and something's happening in the world potentially. So we have all these things going on all at once, and it's just wild. It's just wild. So when I asked God for confirmation, I was like, you know what? Do I have divine authority? Is this really happening? So first time I asked him, there was thunder. Okay, and I said, oh boy. Okay, that's interesting. But I didn't know what the thunder meant. Okay, and it only thundered twice that day, so it was significant, right? All right, so significance. So a few days later, it was a big rainstorm, and there was a front. And I said, all right, well, let's make this interesting. I want you to make it stop raining by the time I get home and I get out the car. Okay? That's when I want to stop raining. So I videoed all the way home, and then as I was getting out the car, the sun, I pointed the video up, and the sun was coming out of the clouds. And I can post that video. I haven't posted that video yet. But that was a very significant day for me. That was May 6th. I still didn't know about the eruptions. I didn't know about it until a month later. Right? I didn't know about that. Of course, that I would have known that would have signified everything. But I wasn't paying attention. I don't watch the news because what? Clouds the mind. I got bigger things going on to worry about than clouding my mind. Right? I'm trying to figure things out, spiritually and all that stuff, and trying to help you folks out. And I know the most important thing I can do is read to you folks, because when you bear the cross, that means that your frequency is very important to humanity. You know what I mean? It's the most important. So I'm gonna read Matthew. I don't think I'm gonna start now. I think I'm gonna take a break. But I think I'm gonna post this video because I think just kind of going over some of the miracles that have happened, I think are important. Is there some other miracles I can talk about? Oh man. I mean, what else has happened? I mean, there's other things that's happened. There's a lot of things that's happened. I post a lot of things. I'll post more stuff. I'm just trying to think, like, in the last 30 days, like, what's happened. I mean, this drought is significant because this is summertime, folks. In Florida in summertime, there's never really a drought. The grass is always the greenest in the summertime, and I basically am a big proponent for the drought. So, if people were listening to me at the church or whatever, the priest or whatever, we wouldn't have had this drought, right? But I think he's got it figured out now, because the last time I was there, he's like, did you make it rain? Because it just rained for a few minutes or whatever. I said, no, we're in a drought right now. And he laughed. And, yeah, he still hasn't seen my rain data yet, because I took rain data. That was a miracle, right? So it rained, and the rain came all the way up to my, back of my house almost. It kind of, and just stalled out. The rain clouds just stalled out and stopped right behind my house. Yeah, just didn't move for hours, right? Anyways, I took the data. You guys can see it on my YouTube. So that's a miracle right there. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of miracles, with me that happened. And, yeah, God is very real. I'm willing to take a polygraph and whatever else. No problem. Whatever you need, So, what would I like to do next? Well, probably baptize the world. You know what I mean? That's probably one of my next things on the agenda once I can get everybody's attention. But I think I'm important to you guys. You know what I mean? So I want to help the best I can and do the best I can for you guys. Yeah, my voice is kind of going. So, I'm not even going to start Matthew yet, you know what I mean? This is kind of just going over some things, why things are the way they are, and like, why I think I'm like the only guy ever born with my condition that is like me, like, probably. I mean, the rarest type of genius is somebody that could talk full sentences in 6 months, right? You know that, right? Yeah, it is. So, anyways, enough about myself. Like I said, I'm not being prideful. These are all things that have happened. This is, it's just significant, very significant. Everything that I'm talking about is very significant to everything, isn't it? Sure is. It makes a lot of sense why I started reading and all the eruptions started, doesn't it? Makes a lot of sense now. I mean, it's not just like for no reason, right? Right. I mean, I got the cross, I got one ear, and here we are. I'm talking to you folks. You guys want answers? I'm doing the best I can to provide you with some answers so that you're not so confused about God or about reality or about what is, what isn't, and all that stuff. Like, God is real, though. Or the spark would not be here talking to you right now. Would I? No. Do I seem like an average guy to you? No. No, I'm not. No. I even have two different voices. I have two different tones. I have two different, main tones. Like, I have two different, two different ways to talk, which is most people don't have. I'm very animated, and then it actually occurred when I got angry for the first time. That was very interesting. And you never want to get angry. It's not good, you know what I mean? I didn't even get angry at a person, right? So I thought I was all right. But no, that wasn't good. Even though I got angry at the spirit realm, that still wasn't good for me to do. I don't recommend it for anybody. Nobody should ever get angry. Moses got, in trouble for getting angry because you're opening a portal, okay? And you're getting different answers to different things. And once you open that portal, right? Yeah, that's a big problem. It's like a infrastructure problem. Yeah, with your soul and your mind and everything else. It's like a contamination, right? Sure is. People don't realize all this stuff. They really don't. They say, oh, it's okay to get angry and express yourself. You don't know what you're doing. That's your problem. And, a lot of people that say that are not on the other side of the fence, right? There's two sides of the fence, right? So if somebody's promoting getting angry as a solution, they're on the other side of the fence. You know what I mean? Yeah. You let God handle anything and everything that's wrong. God takes care of everything. Gets taken care of in time. Yeah, you need patience and time, and things happen, right? Right. Anyways, I'm not even getting to this today right now. I'm gonna read Matthew in like maybe 30 minutes or something like that. I don't know. But I'm gonna leave it here for now. I want you guys to let that sink in right now. What's happened in the last, all the chaos and stuff like that, and just think about the fact that my reading to you cost it all. You know what I mean? Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? Sure is. Anyways, spark out. Get some.